Some would call me a ramen connoisseur, and they wouldn't be wrong. However, today I'm going to talk about the worst meal and the worst ramen that I've ever had. Whenever I go to any restaurant, the location and atmosphere is extremely important to me. So you can imagine my disappointment when I arrived at this ramen restaurant and found that it was so crowded that I spent over 20 minutes just looking for a place to park. It finally got to the point that I was so hungry that I just decided to pay for parking. Even upon arriving at the restaurant, there was a line out the door just to be seated. So once again, my grumbling stomach was just going to have to wait. And I don't know about you, but when I'm hangry, my personality takes a 180 and I turn into a monster. My poor boyfriend had to deal with me for another 20 minutes or so before we finally got seated. So yay, we finally got seated. But then I realized I left my jacket in the car and we were seated, of course, outside. And it was a very windy day and I don't like being cold. Now, I was still somewhat positive at this point because I knew good food would soon be coming my way. But once again, of course, I was disappointed. It took so long for the waiter to come and take our order that I felt like we had been there for an eternity. And trust me, I am a pretty patient person. But eventually someone did come, I was happy again, and I felt a sense of relief. When the waiter came back with our drinks, I took a huge gulp, trying to calm my hungry stomach. I just ordered water, but I was still astonished at the taste of it. It took tap water to a whole next. I swear I could taste the metal particles in there. And I actually do enjoy tap water. I used to drink it all the time before Brita filters were even a thing. Clearly, me and this restaurant were not getting along that day. Now that I've talked about the restaurant, I'm going to talk about the actual ramen itself. Of course, after some more waiting, we finally got the ramen. I broke apart my chopsticks, got ready to make my tummy happy, and took a huge bite, only to be disappointed once again. The broth was bland. Ramen is supposed to be salty and full of flavor, but this one wasn't. It tasted watered down, and it tasted like they put a gallon of oil in there. And I know some people like extra oil in their ramen, but that's just not my cup of tea. Also, the noodles were severely undercooked. And once again, I know some people like the whole al dente, crunchy ramen noodles thing, but I don't. I like my noodles to be soft and delicious, not crunchy. Oh, and because I know you're all so intrigued at my speech and you're all desperately wondering, I never order meat in my ramen. I know, I'm super weird. So I never got a chance to taste theirs. But with the way the rest of the ramen was tasting, I'm pretty sure it would have been just as disgusting. Finally, after we were done eating, we got the bill. And it's Santa Barbara, trust me, I expect expensive, but my ramen alone was almost $20. I'm a broke college kid who's putting myself through school. I don't have time to be wasting money on food, especially bad food. Clearly, I won't be visiting this ramen place ever again. In conclusion, today I have talked about the worst meal I have ever had, and thus the worst ramen that I have ever had. I love you, Santa Barbara, but I hate your ramen. Sincerely, a former Orange County resident.